The Price of Guilt. The sun moved party behind the horizon, turning the clouds in the sky into liquid gold. With a smile on her face, Celestia nodded at her handiwork. A beautiful end to a good day.
Oh, Luna, come take a look.
Celestia pointed at the blazing skyline.
Beautiful, is it not? Yes, it's nice.
Celestia cocked her head. She could recognize that apathetic tone anywhere. Luna was not in the mood.
Is something wrong?
Lost in thought, Luna paused, glancing at the floor. A moment later, her eyes locked onto Celestia again, and a solemn expression filled her face.
When a few days ago I attended the Nightmare Night Festival in Ponyville, young Sweetie Belle had asked me a question. A question I could not answer at the time. I see.
Celestia smiled and picked up the tea that she had made earlier.
Tea? This one's a good blend. No, thank you.
Inhaling the delicious scent, Celestia took a sip. Her smile widened.
You really should try it someday. This one is truly delicious.
Another slurp, another smile.
Anyway, what was Sweetie Belle's question that got you so upset? She asked who had foretold the return of Nightmare Moon.
Immediately, Celestia regretted the gulp that she took as the liquid backtracked in her throat and forced a very rough cough out of her.
But pardon me, but why would she— School's project, or something.
Luna interrupted.
Tia, that's not important. But her question kind of was. Do you know the answer? I'm sorry, sister, but it was so long ago, I'm afraid I don't remember.
A tome of predictions and prophecies landed on the table with a loud thud, interrupting her.
Open it at the Mare of the Moon. Luna, I do not— Then let me open it for you.
The pages in the book began to flutter for a second, then stopped.
This is the interesting part. Would you kindly?
When Luna pointed her hoof at the piece of text, Celestia suspected where this was going, and that there was no way out. With a sigh, she locked her eyes onto the book and began reading.
Legend has it on the longest day of the 1000th year, the stars will aid in her escape, and she will bring about nighttime eternal. Tell me, sister, who controlled the stars during my absence? No one! We talked about this years ago. No one should touch—
Seeing Luna's piercing scowl, Celestia knew her sister wasn't buying it.
It's not what you think. I think it is. A round number of years, the prophecy, and the fact that with your power you were able to control the alignment of the stars. It all fits. This was not a coincidence. Was it, dear sister?
Luna's scowl intensified.
You freed Nightmare Moon.
One part of Celestia wanted to deny it, to say that she wasn't the one responsible, to say that she couldn't get Luna out of that hell back earlier. But her twitching body was already confirming everything. A silent scream louder than 1,000 words. Once started, it couldn't be silenced.
Celestia, what were you thinking? Luna, you have to believe me. I could not do it either. Wait. Well, I wanted to bring you back. I swear, the sun is my witness. I wanted to. But without the elements of harmony, and with Equestria constantly on the brink of war with other nations, I could not risk it. I just couldn't.
For a moment, Luna stood stunned, just gaping at her sister. With her head hanging low in shame and eyes glistening with water, Celestia didn't look like a princess, but some scolded filly. Luna shook her head.
Sis... Tia, this isn't what I meant. It isn't?
Luna smiled gently.
Of course not. I know the best about what Nightmare Moon is capable of. But that's the core of the problem.
This time, Celestia cocked her head in confusion.
By bringing me back, you had risked the lives of every pony in Equestria. A foolish endeavor, sister. Luna! How could you say that? You were locked there for a reason.
With a sigh of guilt, Luna turned around.
Ever since I got back, I had a lot of time to think about what would have happened if Nightmare Moon succeeded. Famine, destruction, oppression, death. Even if we found a way to somehow grow food in the dark using our magic, other creatures would not be so lucky.
When Luna turned back, her face was twisted into a scream of shame.
Bringing me back was a risk you should have not had made.
The air filled with silence. Until a moment later, a deep exhale from Celestia broke it. The sudden role reversal made her smile again.
Luna, in your absence, I have done things I am not proud of. Mistakes that haunt me to this day. But getting you out of that hellhole was not one of them. When I met Twilight and the other girls, I knew that after so many years, the new bearers of the elements arrived. I had to give it a try. And endanger everyone. I had a plan.
Luna turned and smiled ironically.
Yes, the same as you always have. Oh, let Twilight handle it. Hey, at least it hasn't failed me yet.
Luna shook her head, not convinced.
I'm not questioning Twilight's abilities, but we both know that this was a gamble. Nightmare Moon could have hurt her or her friends.
This time, an ironic smirk filled Celestia's face.
You do realize that on the night of your return, I wasn't really hiding, right? I was there, watching your every step. If Twilight was in any real danger, I would have intervened. Fine, but what about the rest? She might not have discovered the elements on time, or might not have figured out how to use them. Or the elements might no longer have worked on me. So many possibilities where it could have gone wrong. Tell me, did you have a plan B?
Just like that, Celestia's smile faded, and her face turned empty.
Is that a yes or no?
The only answer was a sad, silent glance Celestia had aimed at the floor, admiring it like some statue of misery. She didn't want to talk about it, but with her sister's glare demanding answers, there really was no way around it.
Yes.
Celestia finally said, pausing, gulping loudly, and repeated.
Yes. There was a plan B. Okay. Care to share it? I would rather not. Oh, come on. Obviously you couldn't have defeated me easily without the elements nor imprisoned me. So, what was it?
Celestia smiled.
Please tell me you didn't want to bribe me with cake.
Celestia didn't hear the joke. Her face remained solemn.
Please, I really do not want to talk about it.
But Luna kept pushing.
I think I'm entitled to know. And I'm curious. So spill it. I plan to use the cleansing spell.
Luna blinked and arched her eyebrow. Then she let out an ironic chuckle. She really couldn't believe her ears.
That was your big plan? A spell that's used to purge the dark magic from possessed creatures? Sure, the theory is sound, but do you have any idea how much power you would need to purge something as strong as Nightmare Moon? That would never work. Unless you would combine the powers of the sun and the moon and channel their energy directly.
Luna rolled her eyes.
Oh, please. Even you can only take so much. That amount of raw energy would...
Suddenly, her lips flattened, turning her smile into a petrified stare. For the next few seconds, they both stayed in place, Luna gaping in horror, and Celestia desperately looking away, trying to avoid her stare. The eerie silence that spilled all over the room was the icing on the cake, adding to the somber mood.
Tia, that amount of power would have killed me. I know.
Celestia smiled bitterly.
But I would have taken down Nightmare Moon with me.
Luna paused for a moment, but when she regained her composure, her scream echoed throughout all of Canterlot.
Art thou mad? It was just Plan B. I don't care if it was Plan C. This is just...
Still in denial, Luna frantically shook her head.
Even if it would work, what then? You think I would be accepted as the new ruler, or that I would have been able to rule knowing what it costs you? How could you even consider that madness?
Celestia looked at her sister in silence, to see Luna's teeth clenched and her cyan eyes glistening with water. Saying nothing, she walked towards the west window. A second later, the sun hid behind the horizon, and the moon popped up, painting the sky with gray and silver.
This is the reason,
Celestia said, only adding to Luna's confusion.
This is why I had to do it. You risked everyone's lives because You were just tired of raising the moon? Because every time I raised it, the emblem of Nightmare Moon was there, staring, like some morbid reminder of what I did to you. At first, I was able to put it out of my mind. You did what you had to do. There was no other choice, or even, it's all Luna's fault. Those were the excuses I used. And with Equestria constantly expanding and threatened by its neighbors, it was easy to distract myself. For a while. But as Equestria grew in power and prosperity, I was able to solve more and more problems with diplomacy. So this gave me the time to dwell on the past once again. And I didn't like what I've seen.
As the shameful memories began flooding Celestia's mind, her lips began to tremble, and eyes once again filled with water.
Equestria, the country you helped to build, had everything. Peace, prosperity, and growth. While you were starving on that dead rock, forgotten and alone. This was wrong, and I could not have lied to myself anymore. I had to get you back to try to make things right. I just had to.
Smiling gently, Luna walked up to her sister and wrapped Celestia with her wing.
Tia, I told you 1,000,000 times. It was not your fault. But it was. Those years I spent talking, settling disputes, and making diplomacy allowed me to realize how much I failed you. It was my stubbornness and inflexibility that led you astray. If back then I had the experience I have now, this would have never happened. But it had. And I had to watch this damn thing looming in the sky each day, reminding me of what I did. It was just...
Celestia's eyes opened then, and fresh tears the size of pearls began rolling down her cheeks, quickly followed by gentle sobs. Seeing her sister like that was a signal for Luna to move in. With a quick spell, Luna's chest plate disappeared, and she pulled Celestia closer, gently pressing her against her chest and caressing her multicolor mane.
Heavens, Tia. I knew it couldn't have been easy for you, but I never would have suspected it was that painful. You do not know. You just do not know how hard it was raising that damn moon each day, knowing that you're just there.
With her eyes closed, Celestia took a deep breath and equally long exhale.
I would never dare compare my suffering to yours, Luna. But years of looking at that moon left scars that will never heal.
There was a short pause, then a compassionate smile filled Luna's face.
Oh, you big silly filly.
Luna tightened her embrace and let a few tears fall down her face.
We both need to stop doing it to each other.
Celestia smiled.
Agreed. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that you decided to free me, but the need of the many outweighs the needs of the few, yes. I know. My advisors were constantly reminding me of that. How I must place Equestria above everything else. Well, they were right. Luna, if we blindly follow logic alone, then we should be killing all the cripples and old ponies because they are nothing but a drain on resources. We both know this was different. Maybe. But it was a grave injustice. Injustice I had to fix.
Celestia nodded to herself.
Yes, it was a gamble. Yes, there was no guarantee of success, and even with all of the precautions, it could have ended up in disaster. But for the last 50 years of research, I was making no progress. I was as ready as I would ever be. It was then or never. I needed to do it for you, for me, for both of us.
Luna shook her head.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you did what you did. But I thought you were past blaming yourself. No, I can see that's not true. Oh, you don't know the half of it. The blame just comes and goes.
Celestia let out a guilty sigh, yet again.
Ever since you returned, some ponies say I should blast myself to the moon for what I did. There are times I believe that they are right.
After a moment of silence, Celestia glanced up to see Luna staring at her with a cold, formal gaze once again.
Luna? Is something wrong? No, I just never considered what you just said. But I must say I like the idea.
Celestia's eyes widened in shock.
Yes, sister. A few months on that rock would be a proper punishment for all those cakes that you stole in the fridge lately. And moon diet would do wonders for that fat flank of yours.
Luna waited for Celestia to tilt her head in confusion before smirking with a smile. Her giggle put some red on Celestia's cheeks.
I am not fat. I just have big bones. Oh yes, that are filled with frosting.
Celestia frowned, only widening Luna's smirk.
Watch it, little sister. Or what? You're gonna blast me to the moon?
Celestia opened her mouth to counter, but quickly closed it, pouting.
That was just mean. Well, I am the evil sister. What do you expect?
Luna winked. They both let out a chuckle, and a joyful mood filled the chamber again. Until...
Princess Celestia, Princess Luna, I'm so glad that I found you.
Sweaty Twilight teleported inside, with panic in her eyes.
We got a problem. What's going on? Sweetie Belle asked me about the origins of Nightmare Moon, and after a quick research, I realized that some pony freed her, on purpose. The culprit must be still on the loose. We need to find him, and who knows what fiendish plots that he's planning next.
Luna glanced at her troubled sister with a wide smirk, and whispered,
I bet you 10 bets that she's gonna faint once you tell her.
Celestia just sighed, already feeling the headache coming on. This story got just the right amounts of enjoyability, sweetness, and drama. God, I love it. Now let's hop on over to our golden donators. Top donators, Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, and Darkside. CourierCruz CI, Delta Omega, Ponyman, RuneScythe 9852, dospo, Ryanny Dragonwolf, Secret Moon, Tallrascha, The Toilet Snake, Cerberus, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal K. Anderson, TV Killer, and John Becker. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.